questions. As I am looking, probably number 4 as I look at, so we had 4, we had 9 as questions, we had 10, 11, 13, 14. I'll probably look at 13. We kind of started that one in class, and 14 is very similar. 11 and 12, we only started 11, right? So we'll kind of finish off 11. We'll finish 13 that we started yesterday in class. We'll look at number 9, and 14 is going to be the same as 13. So I'll look at one of those so that we'll look at it. And so if we look at number 4, if I'm looking at number 4, what number is it? What's my coefficient of t if there's nothing there? What is my coefficient? There's a 1. So when I go to add like terms, I have, if I'm looking at this problem, this is actually 1t that I'm looking at, plus 10 minus 4t. Now, one of the things we talked about yesterday is always changing subtraction to adding the opposite. So if I'm adding those like terms and I am taking a look at number 4, I'm actually adding 1 plus a negative 4, which gives me a negative 3t, plus 10 equals negative 11. My next step is I need to get this negative 3t by itself. So if you didn't have negative 3t and you put 5t instead, that's part of your mistake. Should have been a negative 3t. Make sure you correct it and you have the right work since I'm doing these in class. You should then be subtracting 10 from both sides. As you're subtracting 10 from both sides, you now have negative 3t is equal to, and when you're taking a look at negative 11 minus 10, that is the same as plus a negative 10. That does give you a negative 21. If you're struggling with that part, put it in your calculator. At this point, we should be dividing both sides by negative 3. And negative divided by a negative, I should get t is equal to 7. You can plug it in and do the check. You could have checked your answers in the back of the workbook as you were looking at those solutions. In number 9, if we are going to do that problem along with all of these, you're going to see that you can use the distributive property to solve. So negative 14 is equal to, we are taking negative 4 times 9, which gives us, Bo, how much? You can even look at your paper. Negative 36. Yeah. So we get negative 36, and then I have to take the negative 4 times negative 1, Daniel, which gives me?
Negative 4 plus negative 1.
Nope, I didn't say that.
What did you say?
We're using the distributive property, so you tell me what I'm doing with the negative 4.
Multiplying it by negative 1.
And getting?
4.
4. So I have 36x and I have plus 4. I now want to get the 36x by itself. Grace, what do you have to do to get 36x by itself?
Subtract 4.
Yep, so we're going to subtract 4. And I get negative 18 is equal to 36x. Courtney, the next step. I want to find x. What is my coefficient of x? What's my coefficient of x? Braden, what's my coefficient of x?
I don't know.
So, would you please turn, those of you that aren't sure, turn to the very first page of your notes right now of D1 and read what it says for coefficient, because we need that. I'm going to use that the rest of this year. It comes up in algebra all the time. You need to understand, and it's in the first page of your notes for D1. Right at the very top, in that vocabulary, we have that word coefficient in your notes. Courtney, did you find it? What is the coefficient of x? It is 36. And when we are trying to solve an equation, you must identify the coefficient because that is what we have to divide by. I am trying to get a 1 in front of x. So Courtney, to do that, I'm going to divide both sides by 36. And right away, people go, well, we can't have fractions. All the rest of these came out as nice positive or negative integers. No, you can. And you will, throughout this unit, get fractions and decimals, and it's not wrong. And if you take negative 18, and we should have been divided by, this should have been a negative 36, right? Because that's a negative 36 here. Negative divided by negative, we should have had x equals, I don't care if you want to put 1/2 or if you want to put 0.5. And when you plug that into your original equation and did the work up here, and take 9 times 1/2, that gives you 4.5. And 4.5 minus 1, I should see on your paper that you did. 4.5 minus 1 gives us 3.5. And 3.5 times negative 4, I should see if that gave you a negative 12. So you need to do the check with that, okay? So next to the odd ones, I was looking for the check, okay? As we look at number 11 and 12 with the same type of questions, we needed to start with multiplying. We said yesterday we're going to multiply both sides by 4. When we do that on this side, we are simply left with 3r plus 2 is equal to 8. We no longer have the division by 4. So if I am looking at that, Sage, I now want to get 3r by itself. What do I have to do?
Subtract 2.
Subtract 2. I had people making just simple errors here, like they put this as 4 when it should be 6. I am now looking at my coefficient, Ava. My coefficient of r is 3, which means I want to divide both sides by 3. And when I divide by 3, I get r equals 2. And yesterday we talked in class that if I would replace 3 times 2 plus 2, that gives us 6 plus 2, that gives me 8, and I divided by 2, that does give me, or 8 divided by 4, excuse me, does give me that answer of 2 here. So that would be my check. So number 12, you should do it the same way. You should multiply on both sides by that denominator. Yesterday in class, we looked at this problem for number 13, and my hint was, if we do not want to work with decimals at all, we could multiply, we said yesterday in class, by 100. We would now have 600z plus 36 equals 2472. Wyatt, I want to get the 600z by itself. What am I going to do?
You're going to subtract 36.
Subtract 36. So on your calculators, please take that out if you didn't do so and subtract that 36. Thane, what did you get? 600z equals what?
I think I did the problem.
Okay, that's okay. Put in 2472 minus 36 for me. So it should come out to be 24. $2,472 minus 36. You checking it in right?
I typed it in.
Okay. What'd you get? 24. Take 2,472 just minus 36. 2,000, no decimals in there. 2,472 minus 36 gives us 2436. Did you have a decimal in yours, so? When you put it in?
I thought that was a negative sign.
Ah, well, this is a negative. It's either a minus or it's plus a negative. If you do minus, or you can put in plus a negative. Okay, so now we're going to subtract, in this case, both sides by 600, our coefficient of z. And when you do that division, at this point, we are going to get a decimal. It does not come out as a nice number. Lizzie, did you get it? What'd you get? 4.06. And if you plug in, go back to the original question, and plug in 6 times that, plus 0.36, you should get this answer, okay? If you were done with this assignment, as soon as we are done with our notes, you will turn it in. If you are not done with it, and you didn't do the checks, and you didn't do all the work, you need to complete that first before you start on this new assignment, because I want everything on D3 turned in. Whatever you have done before you leave here, I'll give you credit for. You don't have time to finish it. That will be, I'll kind of take a look at that for your grade, but we are turning in the D3 also today. So right now we want to look at more multi-step equations. So right now we want to take a look at how we are solving these equations. So this lesson today, there isn't really much new. It's just practicing more of the same type of questions. They start getting a little harder. In front, and again, one of my hints is when you have subtraction so that you do not make mistakes, subtraction, you should always change it to add the opposite. Some of you will prefer not to do that. You like to leave it as it is. You just have to make sure that the sign of the number goes with that number if you don't like to change it. Because like when I look at this, I want to think of this as plus a negative 13, and I want to think of this as plus a negative 1x. When I look at this next question, I want to think of this as plus a negative 2. So in this original problem, if I asked you how many terms are on this side of the equation, how many terms are we talking about, Carmen, on that side? 3 terms. If I asked you to tell me the coefficients of x, so this has 3 terms, terms are always separated by addition and subtraction. If I look at what are my coefficients of x here? I should have what, Sophie? 2 and negative 1. Negative 13 is a constant, okay? Connor, we are adding our like terms. So 2x and negative 1x. What am I going to get when I add my like terms?
3x.
Okay, so if you need, you can use your calculator too. But Connor, we are taking 2 plus a negative 1 with our x, right? What does that give me for my x term? 2 plus negative 1.
Negative 3.
So do 2 plus negative 1. You don't have a calculator? When you come into class, I'd make sure you grab one. They're up in the front, go grab one if you're not sure about that, okay? If I am looking at that, Chloe, 2 plus negative 1 is going to give me? It's going to give me 1x. So 2 plus a negative 1 is going to give me 1x. So I have 1x plus negative 13 equals 21. Brett, next step in solving this.
Add 13.
I'm going to add 13. I am pretty much done with this question, right? Because when I added my like terms, it came out to be a 1x, and that's what I'm solving for. I add 21 plus 13, and I get 34. So 1x minus 13 should have 34. We want to check. Tell me what I am writing, Zach, for my check. Where do I want to go to do the check? What do I have to do? Haley, can you help Mom?
Just rewrite the answer, but replace x with 3.
So in the original, when I think about my original problem, okay, I'm going to go back to the original, right? And I'm going to replace the x. So in the original problem, replace the variable. Okay, so knowing that, now Zach, what would you put down?
X.
Okay, wait, does it start with x?
Oh, 2.
2. So I'm going to start with 2. Everyone have this on your paper in your notes, okay? We are in your notes. This is on that first page of your notes right here. I got pencils right back here, or pens. Go grab one. Okay, so I have 2, then what? Wait, what did x equal that you're replacing this x with, right?
Oh, 34.
Okay, so I'm going to have 2 times 34. Keep going. The original was what? Minus?
13.
Okay. Minus x. Okay, what is our x?
34.
34. We're going to put all of this in our calculator and see if it gives us 21. So 2 times 34 minus 13 minus 34. Does it give us the correct solution of 21? Yes, so we're done, and this was our answer. This is our check to show that it worked because 21 is equal to 21, okay? No, you can move your desk a little. If you need to move your desk to the side, you can do so. If we look at this next one and we're adding our like terms, start me out, Peter. We're going to add our like terms.
Negative 5y times negative 2y.
Okay, that's going to give us how much?
7y.
Okay, that should be a negative 7y plus 12. TJ, next step, what do we need to do?
Minus 12.
Got to subtract 12. Now, when we minus 12, and you're putting this in your calculator, you can put in my negative 16, you can minus 12, or you could put it in as plus a negative 12. It's like it's negative 16 degrees out and it's getting colder, right? This is not going to be a smaller negative number. It's going to be, when we think of that, we're adding those two together and we get a negative 28. It should not be 4 or negative 4, okay? On this side, Kayla, we still have negative 7y equals negative 28. What do we need to do to solve the problem as we look at it?
Divide both sides by -7.
Negative 7. Negative 7 is the what of y, if I am looking at that, Braden? It is the coefficient. So negative 7 was our coefficient. Y is equal to negative divided by negative is positive. And we should have, in this case, a positive 4. We're not going to do the check on this one, but you should make sure you understand how to do that.
Wait, can you do a check on it?
Yeah. You want to help us do it?
No, but.
Start me out. Original problem. This is good practice for you.
Okay, negative 5.
Negative 5,
Y. We've got
but not y.
Okay.
We're going to put in what? What was y equal to?
4.
4. So every place where there's a y, I'm putting in my 4 now. Then I'm going to put plus. Keep going.
12. And then plus negative 2. And then
And now
Times
put in
four?
a 4. And the question is, when I put that in my calculator, does it equal 16? So I'm going to put, I got negative 20 plus 12 plus negative 8. Does it equal, if we are looking at that? And this shouldn't be 16, but negative 16. So does it equal a negative 16? It checks. So my answer is 4. So when we take a quiz on this, because it is very soon that we'll take a quiz on these multi-step questions, okay? We probably won't do it today. You will probably see one tomorrow. When we do it, that quiz, not in class tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be working on this activity, but we might have a quiz because in the afternoon everyone goes to the play. So we're going to be working on this in-class activity that we're going to do tomorrow. And then Thursday you have the counselors, so most likely on Friday you will have a quiz on this stuff. Okay? So, taking a look, we want to distribute first. In both these cases, we want to do our distributive property first. As I do that, I'm taking 2 times 3r plus 2 times 5 plus 8 equals 12. That leaves me with 6r plus 10 plus 8 equals 12. Some of you are not adding your like terms. These are my like terms. They're constants. I want to do that next. So, I don't want it written down like that. That will get marked wrong. Okay, because you're not showing me both sides of the equation all the way down. You're just showing me what you do on one side. I need it the whole thing. So copy this like I have it. If you don't want to do that, just know you're just setting yourself up for getting a 0 on this, okay? So we now want to put 6r. If we are adding, we want to add our like terms, which gives us 18 is equal to 12. We're trying to get this term 6r by itself. To get that by itself, I have to get rid of the positive plus 18, which means I'm going to subtract 18. I have 6r is now equal to. And when we talk about doing it, we're talking about on both sides of the equal sign. I had some people putting negative 18 under the 6r. You cannot do that. It has to be on both sides of your equal. That will give us a negative 6 you are not dividing both sides by 6. And r in this case equals -1. If I was doing my check, I would have had 2 times, I'm going to multiply 3 times -1 right away. That gives me a -3 plus 5 plus 8. This is really 2 times 2 plus 8. And I know that 4 plus 8 is 12. And that's what I was trying to get on this side. So it checks. Okay? Some of you do not like following and writing these directions down. I need you to do it with each step. I just had someone, as I looked at their paper, have 12 minus 18, divide by 6, get this answer, and do this for their work. This is a 0. This does not show me all the steps with the like terms and what you did. This is a 0. I just want to be really clear that that does not count for work. You only did it on one side. Our standard says that you must be showing work and it must be on both sides of the equation. When I look at this next one, it is 1j. I am taking 3 times 5 minus 3 times 2j equals 25. Oh, but Mrs. Thompson, you said we should always change subtraction. I know, but you can leave it this way. I want to show you if you didn't, because some of you prefer it this way. So we have 1j plus 15, and we're going to have minus 6j equals 25. At this point, I have some people that will skip this first line, and they'll go from here to here. I'm okay with that, as long as you make sure you get this last term. But a lot of people are leaving this as 2j, and they forget that they have to take the 3 times both of those. So if we are adding that, that is a -5j plus 15. -6 plus 1. I didn't see -6. I thought it was 6, and this should be a 7. Then rewrite it as plus a -6 plus 1. -5j equals 15, or plus 15 equals 25. As I look at it, my next step is going to be to do what, as I look at the problem. Right. Subtract 15. We get -5j is equal to 10. Next step, Daniel.
Divide 10 by -5.
And we also want to divide this by -5. If I only divide the one side, this is what you're left with. If you decide, and you show it like this, and you put this answer down, you've just told me -5j is equal to -2. And that's not really what you mean, because you meant to divide both sides. So I need to see it on both sides of the equal sign. Okay? You have to keep it balanced. That's what I meant. Yes, but I'm going to mark it wrong unless you feel like showing me, because I can't see in your heads. I can't see what you're thinking. So put it on your paper, please. Okay? All right. These were like the 2 that we did in the homework. We're going to do one of them. We're going to do the second one, clearing the fractions, because we did this in our homework yesterday. So we're going to clear the fraction. What do I need to multiply on both sides so that I no longer have a fraction as I am looking at that, Brett? If I don't want to have a fraction, what can I multiply by?
4
By what?
times 5.
But just what should I, to get rid of this denominator, what should I multiply by on both sides? What number?
10.
Grace, if we want to cancel it, what are we looking at?
4.
You said it right the first time. You just didn't tell me on both sides. You just said I'd take 5 times 4. You would. 5 times 4 does give us 20. But on this side, the reason we're multiplying by 4 is because, and not at 10, is because we want to get rid of this. And 4 over 4 is 1. So now we're left with 6 minus 2t equals 20. As I do that, it is confusing. These are hard, and they get harder quick. I mean, look at the front cover of your notebook and your workbook. Those are the kind of questions we're getting to by the end of this unit that you have to be able to solve. So we start with the 2-step ones, and they just get harder and harder. As we look at solving this, we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. Bo, when I do that, what am I left with?
4.
equals, and that's probably the most common mistake, is people like to just bring down 2t. So again, my hint is, if it helps you to make this plus a negative, so you keep it as a -2, that is key. I now look at that, and Maddie, my coefficient of t is -2. So what am I going to divide Maddie by on both sides? -2. When I do that, I should get t is equal to -7. So you're thinking, I don't think that works. That doesn't make sense. So we're going to do the check for this one. We're going to do the check right up above here, right? I'm going to take 6 minus 2 times -7. What do I get when I take 6 minus 2 times -7? I really get 6 plus 14. Do you agree? 6 plus 14, that equals 20. And if I divide 20 by 4, do I get 5? Yes. So I had some people be, no, I don't think this should be a positive 14. Well, this is -2 times a negative. Negative times a negative is positive. So add all of those on the top to get one number, divide it by your denominator 4, and you should get that solution. You will also be asked to tell what happened. So you are going to be asked to give an accurate description of what happened. And what we are looking at is from this side of the equal sign, from here to here, what changed. So here we start with this parenthesis, and we no longer have a parenthesis. What property would you say we used, Ellie, to get rid of that parenthesis? First lesson we did, this unit.
We did like the opposite.
And we did the opposite with it, but in the first unit we did this where we have a parenthesis and we take something. What property is that when we multiply by the number out in front? Lizzie, you got it? Distributive. So our reason for getting rid of the parenthesis is because of the distributive property. So from the first line to the second line, we got rid of the parenthesis by using the distributive property. What did we do from the second line to the third line to get from this equation down to here? What did we do if you were looking at that? Raise your hand. What do you think? You think you have an idea? Grace, what do you have? We added our like terms. We added the numbers that were like, and we added our variables that were like. Add like terms. So that we added 6x plus -8x to get -2x. We added 14 minus 5 to get the 9. Next step, what did they do that they didn't show us? To get from -2x plus 9 to just get -2x. What did they do? Both. So we're going to subtract 9. Both sides of the equal. And then in our last step, what did they do if we are looking at it, Ellie?
They divided both sides by -2.
We divide by -2, our coefficient of x. Okay. So, what are you doing first? I just want to show you a couple things on D4. And then if you did not finish the D3 with the work, like we've been showing the work up here, that is the first thing you want to have done. As much of that you can get done and turn in, and if you were done with D3, you'll just turn it in just a minute. Those of you that are working, you'll turn in D3 either to me at the end of class, or you can have through the end of the day. At the end of the day, you've already lost points. It's considered a late assignment, okay? But if you didn't finish D3 and you know you need to do that, that's what you're going to do first. I want you to take a look at question number 1 here. It says, decide whether the given value is a solution. If not, find the answer. So they're saying in number 1 that W should be 3. How do you find out if they did it right? We kind of do the check, right? So I want you to plug in place of W, plug in 3. So you're going to do 4, write it down please, times 3. minus 9 times 6 minus 5 times 3. So we just went to this equation, and every place where there was a W, we replaced it with 3. So I put all my W's, I replaced it with the 3. And now put this in your calculator. 4 times 3 minus 9, and you might want to use the parenthesis button in your calculator. Minus 6 times 6 minus 15, if you want to put it in that way. And as you put that in, does it work out? Is the answer 3? Is that the right answer that they told you? Did you get 44? No. You got what? 93. 93 does not equal 44. So is 3 the answer? No. It says if it's not the answer, find the solution. So now what do you have to do? You have to actually solve this. And I think this is a little crowded for showing the work with this, but you still either do it here or on another sheet. You should have 4W minus, you're going to take 9 times 6. 9 times 6 gives us 54. Minus, you're taking negative 9 times negative 5. So let's say, oh, it's minus 9. Again, change that subtraction to add the opposite. Negative 9 times negative 5 gives us a 45W equal 44. And now solve it just like we were doing. Okay? As you look at this worksheet, there gets to be a lot of problems. This D4, we will not be checking until Friday, which means to do the worksheet D4, which has 19 questions total, we have Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday. It is due Friday. The whole thing. Answers are in the back as you're checking those. When you look at this one, it just says no, and then it might tell you the answer. I still need you to do all this work. So you have until Friday to get this done. We will not have another assignment tomorrow. We will not have an assignment on Thursday. So you need to take the time and make sure you are ready for this.